From the oldest city in the USA, St. Augustine Tonight, with our guests, Betty Griffin Center, Reverend Ron Rawls, and musical guest, St Augustine Youth Chorus. And your host, Jorge Rivera.
We got a crowd. We're packed tonight. Oh, yeah, love it, love it. Thank you so much. This is our last show, and I want to start with thanking Flowers by Shirley, who were so wonderful. And you'll see the set when we sit down with our guests. Lots of poinsettias, lots of nice decor for Christmas. If you're planning Christmas and you don't go there, I don't know why, because they have wonderful, wonderful things to decorate your home when it comes to flowers for Christmas. So let's give Flowers by Shirley a hand. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, you know, I was watching the news this week, and first thing was North Korea hacked half the world this week, and all these computer screens had ransom notes like, if you want your computer back, you need to pay us. And so there's all this turmoil in the world, what to do. What do you do with a country that doesn't have really an internet, but has enough internet to go and screw up the rest of the world's internet? So that is kind of, you know, it's like they throw rocks, but you have no rocks to throw at them. So that's kind of crazy. From the South Korean side, what I saw was something very, very interesting. The South Koreans have a prototype, and what it is, a giant robot, which a human being sits in the center of this giant robot, and it'll walk, it'll move, just like in science fiction, where people are in these giant robots, where they already have the prototype. The robot is big enough, it's very large, and it could pick human beings up. So it's very strong. And that is where the future is going, ladies and gentlemen. Forget the fork truck. Oh, no. This is going to be a whole different thing. I mean, you'll be able to do incredible things with these machines because the future is moving very, very quickly. Also, if you've ever been to Disney World, we live here in Florida for people who are watching us outside of Florida. We have a lot of people who watch the show from Germany, from France, from Russia, from Japan. For those who are out there watching the show, here in Florida we have Disney World, as you know, and one of the places you go in Disney World, which I like very much, is the Hall of Presidents. Well, just this week, they just were able to bring the robot that's Donald Trump. So now there's a robot that's Donald Trump, and I saw a little clip on that, and I thought that was quite funny that they just added another president. It was the Donald, as they call him. Yes. On the other side, you know, one thing that's happening is that Apple, you know, the guys who make iPhones and iMacs, Apple has been buying these flip phone patents. And everyone is saying, what's up with that? Because remember the flip phones, the Motorola flip phones are very popular. You thought you were on Star Trek. So now they're buying these patents for flip phones, and people are saying, flip phones? So Apple has something up their sleeve, and we don't know what it is yet, but we're going to figure it out eventually. Another piece of news is SpaceX. If you know, SpaceX is a private company that is sending rocket ships up to the space station. They're also planning a mission to Mars. But what makes SpaceX so interesting is their rockets, for the first time, they reuse their rockets. So when their rockets go up to the space station, they come back to Earth and the rockets land. And now they land on land. And they take these rockets and reuse them. So this year, SpaceX launched 17 times. And now, this last flight, they were using reusable rockets, which brings the price of payload way, way down. And the future is space, ladies and gentlemen. Last piece of news is there's a program coming on PBS. It's called The Secrets of Spanish Florida. It's supposed to air, I believe, the day after Christmas, so the 26th. And they say this documentary is unbelievable, and a lot of it is about St. Augustine and Northeast Florida. You're going to find out that the first Thanksgiving was really here, half a century before it was in Plymouth Rock. So Boston, I'm sorry. Hey, you know, not the first time. And the other thing you'll find out is that they also had a underground railroad. As you know, there was an underground railroad before the Civil War, but way before that, there was one that brought them south, that if they came into Spanish Florida, they would be the slaves would be free, and they just had to, I think, give their loyalty to the crown and become Catholics, and then they could live normal lives. So don't miss it. Also, you're going to find out in that documentary, there were 15 colonies when the American Revolution, not 13. That's really interesting. They'll explain that to you. And they'll also, you're going to discover so many things you did not know. So now that we're in Spanish Florida, we're having a great show. And our guests for our show, we're going to have the St. Augustine Youth Chorus singing for us. Amazing, amazing. We also have Nicole Pece, who is a spokesman for the Betty Griffin Center. Let's give her a hand. And also we have Reverend Ron Rawls from our St. Paul's Church telling us the history of that church that's been here 100+ years. So when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, don't you go, don't you dare go. We're coming back with that St. Augustine Youth Chorus, going to fill us up with the spirit of Christmas. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Carla Wagner. I am the owner of what we call in the hood the Triple C's, and that stands for the Corazon Cinema and Cafe, here located at 36 Granada Street.
And how many theaters you got in that lovely place?
Oh, you haven't been to the Corazon? You need to come on out and see. Come on out. This is one, and this is Theater 2. Last but not least, Theater 3.
So what kind of movies do you run here?
Oh, we have a variety of different movies. We have classical, foreign, documentaries, you name it, we carry it. We're an art house, so we have a lot of different movies.
That's right, you're an art house. Well, I gotta say, I like the way Triple C rolls. Yeah, that's Chaplin, love him.
So, you can come here to socialize, you can come here for a great film, or you can come here and have a bite to eat too. So come and see us.
Salud.
Salud.
I like this place.
Oh, and by the way, we have a value commodity, and that's lots of parking.
At Martinez & Associates, we can help you with many things. Number one is income for life throughout your retirement, which is very important. Number two would be Medicare choices, which are very confusing. Number three is a legacy for your loved ones. And finally, keeping you independent throughout retirement. My name is Tuli Martinez. Call this number. Y hablamos español.
Hello, I'm Grant Paxton. Welcome to Foxtrot Creative Studio. Let me show you what we do.
We've been in business for 3 years now. We can create different graphics for you, ads, mailers, flyers, business cards, logos, and even websites. And we're also a printing company as well. So we can create for you the design you need and then the final product. We can usually get you with a design, we can get you a brand new business card in less than 2 days.
At St. Augustine Distillery, we're part of a new generation of American craft distillers. Family-owned and operated, we are committed to making the best possible spirits using local agriculture. Our distillers make everything by hand, from mashing and blending to distilling and tasting each and every batch. We distill and bottle everything we sell, making sure that the spirits are just right before barreling and aging. Bottled by real people, we love showing our guests not only what we do, but why we do it. We're passionate about educating our guests to not only what goes into each bottle, but how to make the best possible cocktails. We love St. Augustine, and thanks to your purchases, we're able to give back to the community and help local organizations each and every day.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
St. Augustine Distillery, handmade with pride in the nation's oldest city.
Okay, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we're back. Wow. That St. Augustine Youth Chorus was, man, filled the room with Christmas. Definitely, definitely. As I was telling you in the monologue, look at the beauty here from Flowers by Shirley. Wendell is the man behind this, Wendell Revis, and he has such a, I've known him for a long time, and he has a very, very big heart. He's a very kind man. And look at that, set us up, really nice. So let's give them a hand again for this lovely, lovely setup. Yes, I'm here with Nicole Pece, who is a spokesman for the Betty Griffin Center, you call now.
Right.
It used to be called the Betty Griffin House when
Correct.
You first started.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Center, we're a dual center, and what that means is that we have survivors of domestic violence as well as survivors of sexual assault. So some locations only have one or the other, but we're a center and we encompass both of those.
Is there a number that people call when they need
Yes,
help?
sir. We have a 24-hour helpline, and the
Okay.
number is 824-1555, and I would encourage anyone to call with any questions about a family or friend that they may need information about or to help.
All right.
824-1555.
Okay. Now, you're originally from where?
Originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes,
Well, they have a
yes.
black king now called LeBron James.
Yes.
And the Indians were not too bad in
No.
baseball this year. I mean, it's a city that really is coming up. About the cultural side of it, it's just exploding in the last 15, 20 years.
Yes, it's come a long way, and it's great to go back and see home. No longer the mistake on the lake, as they called it.
The mistake on the lake.
It's vibrant, a vibrant community with a lot of culture.
Wow.
And
So how long have you been on the sunny side of the U.S.?
yes, I had enough winters there with the snow. Came to Florida in 1992, 94 area to go to
wow.
graduate school here. So I've been
Graduate
here.
school? What were you
Yes.
majoring in?
I majored in elementary education at Jacksonville University when I came to Florida.
And did you get to work in that field?
I worked in student services, actually, while I was studying for my elementary education degree.
And that involves what?
Student services is all of the behind-the-scenes kind of activities on college campuses. So student activities, residence life, housing. Sometimes there's Greek life activities that are incorporated. Student government association, clubs, organizations like that.
I did something similar to that when I lived in Europe, but I'd take the students to Paris or Amsterdam or London, and that was that. You know, getting paid and doing that is amazing.
Right,
you know?
right,
Yeah.
That's a
You're
nice
not spending
gig.
no money. I mean, you're in some of the nicest pretty cities and lots of culture. Now, how did you then come to work with an organization like the Betty Griffin Center?
Sure. So I've been in development work. I'm a fundraiser and had been working for both Flagler College here locally as well as the University of North Florida in Jacksonville. And I wanted to be able to help an organization that was local in the St. Augustine community and give back to the people here.
Wow.
So when the opportunity arose, I was very excited to be back in St. Johns County serving St. Augustine community and raise money for such an important and worthy cause.
Right, right. I mean, do you find it difficult to work in a line of work where you're dealing with people in crisis? To say it lightly?
It is difficult at times, but I think of all the joy that comes out of all that there is, that people are very generous, especially this time of year, and
Christmas time.
Christmas time, and throughout the year, that people really are very generous and want to give back. And there are success stories. There are those people that are doing wonderful things after getting the help that they need through the programs and services that we offer at Betty Griffin Center.
Yeah,
so that's what keeps me going.
Right, because the Betty Griffin
oftentimes.
Center, like when you go in and there's a crisis, you're like in the witness protection.
Right.
I mean, you're
Yes.
kept secretly
Yes.
housed in places,
Yes.
moving you about.
Sure. So there is a shelter. It's a safe shelter, and it is in a private location. And we also offer transitional housing. But in addition to the safe shelter, we also have counseling. We have group therapy sessions. We have 2 thrift stores. So get your Christmas shopping done at one of our 2 thrift shops in St. Johns County. We have a rape care unit for sexual assault victims, and that is at the Flagler Hospital.
That's right, in the hospital
Yes,
itself.
exactly.
That's awesome.
And that's available to people 24 hours a day as well. We also have education outreach, and we have peace clubs where we work with children from 3 to 17 who may have experienced domestic violence. And
that's what breaks my heart.
Teaching them about peace.
Yeah, that there is another life other than the one they just went through.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, I grew up in the inner city. I see a lot of broken souls.
Yes.
But so going back, now the Betty Griffin House is just in St. Johns County?
Correct. We offer free services to victims, if you will, of domestic violence and sexual assault in St. Johns County. Men, women, and children.
Okay, so about how many people are you helping
Sure.
at a time?
So with the increase in the residents and the population in St. Johns County, we know it's growing enormously every year.
Yes.
We've had an increase of 40% in our residents at the shelter in transitional housing over last year. So we served 562 women and families, women and children last year, just in 1 year. And that equates to about 23,000 nights of service for women and children at the shelter and transitional housing.
Would you say you're booked?
We are, yes. We are unfortunately over capacity now. I checked, so there is always a need.
Right.
And we've probably had one of the most busy years, but we always make accommodation for somebody who needs safe shelter, and we will find a place for them. If it's not at our safe shelter, we find other accommodations as well.
Yeah, I had a friend, social worker in New York, and he did some work similar to this, and he described it as actually going into a sea where someone is drowning and being beaten by the waves and thinking they're going to die, and you go in and fish them out and pull them and bring them to dry land, give them clean clothes, warm clothes, hot soup, and start giving them a life again.
Yes.
And but on an emotional,
Yes.
well, even physical. Some people get
Absolutely.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
Now, how does the Betty Griffin? I mean, this costs a lot of money. How do you guys then? Where do you guys find the money to keep this going and helping?
Sure. We have support from statewide organizations, but we also are a nonprofit, and we do accept donations, and we have very generous people in the community. So we have private support, corporate support, as well as foundations. We have a big event in April. We have the Run for Peace on April 14th. I'll put a plug in if you can put it on your calendar.
By all means.
So it's an opportunity to celebrate a day without violence and run, walk for peace.
Right.
So.
You also have an event called SantaCon?
Oh yeah,
SantaCon?
SantaCon. So that's the new thing. People dress up in Santa suits and make a gift, I guess, and they go around town and sample the local beverages, I guess.
I'm in.
So yes, that's one of our, it was an event that was held by a woman, I guess, who advertised for us, and the proceeds will benefit Betty Griffin Center. So we're very grateful to them for that.
Any other events that you guys do during the year that you can think of?
We have been the beneficiaries of the Taste of the Beach at St. Augustine Beach, where people come and sample food and cuisine at the beach, and the proceeds also then come back to Betty Griffin Center. People will hold fundraisers of their own accord for us. It's phenomenal. Somebody has a birthday party coming up, and instead of asking for gifts, she's asking that they make a gift to the Betty Griffin Center.
I've seen that on Facebook too. When it's people's birthday, they've asked for the Betty Griffin house.
Yes.
And so, I mean, something like this is just it's so deep. But what do you see? What do you see? What would you like for the future for a center like the Betty Griffin Center?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that every opportunity that we have to educate people about how to help, how to get involved, how to have conflict resolution in a peaceful manner are very important conversations to have. And I like to think that we're doing a lot of education in the community now, but there's always more.
Because I bet you get calls of people who call and you think they need help, and they say, no, I'm calling for a friend.
Yes.
And they're not really calling for a friend.
Yes.
They're calling because they're in trouble.
Right.
And they they kind of know before they commit themselves.
Exactly. Some people want to test it out, see what the response is on the other end of the helpline.
Right.
And then they'll call back and say, that was me, and I just wasn't sure what my next steps were.
Do you ever get young people who come back to you after they've gone through a lot to say thank you to you guys?
That's a wonderful question. There is a story of a woman who said a 23-year-old woman, she was a participant in the safety shelter during the holidays, during the Christmas season.
Was she young
as
at
a
the
child.
time? As a child.
Yes. And she had 2 brothers with her at that time, and she did write a beautiful letter, which I believe is on our webpage. And she was very grateful for having been able to celebrate Christmas and wonderful spirit, and that she and her family were given a sense of independence with the advocates and the counseling, the help that they were able to get from the employees there. And she went on to have a wonderful, productive life, and she had some special memories of her time.
And don't you be surprised if in the future, when she starts rolling in some money, she said, you know what, I'm going to do this event for the Betty Griffin Center because they saved my life.
Yes.
Yes. They save lives.
Yes.
They save lives, and they help restore souls, like I say.
Exactly.
Your work is God's work in many ways, and I thank you so much. Let's give them a hand. It's organizations like that make a huge difference in your community. Keeps it stable. So,
thank you.
Love to have you again in the future, and thank you again.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, and that's for you.
Yeah.
We have a little Christmas wreath on our, yay, we're ready for Christmas. Yes.
US One Computer Works has been serving St. Augustine since 2002. We make repairs on all makes. Is your computer slowing down because of malware and viruses? Bring it to us, and if you can't come to us, we'll come to you. Do you need a wireless network at your business? Problems with your routers? Call US One Computers. We're ready for the task.
Appena arrivato, saluta le mura e poi saluta.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah. Betty Griffin Center. Listen, you got an extra dime, you know where to drop it, okay? That's the place. I mean, it's places like that. The St. Francis House also, another wonderful place for the homeless. And we have now with us Reverend Ron Rawls. Merry Christmas, Reverend.
Good to see you, sir.
It's always good to have a man of the cloth here on Christmas. And I wanted you on the first season, but you're always so busy with so many things around town. So it's great I have you here for Christmas. So I guess my first question for you is, where were you born? Where was home when you were a young man?
I was born in Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville, that's such a university town. I mean, it's a place of culture, of learning, of science, and everything else. Now, when you think of your childhood, was it good?
Wonderful.
Really?
Yeah, wonderful.
You had a good friends, good, strong family?
Yeah, real big family, a large family, and had a great childhood.
Okay, and how long have you been a pastor?
Since 1996, I became a collegiate pastor, and then in 1999, I became a senior pastor.
And collegiate means that you're like an internship kind of thing?
Yeah, the church that I was at, my responsibility was to pastor young adults and college students.
Ah, okay. Now, was your dad or mom pastors?
Family full of pastors. Started with my great-grandfather, Papa, in Quitman, Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And he was a pastor and great role model for me. Both my parents were pastors, uncles and aunts. Never thought I would be, but...
Really? When you were thinking, I'm not doing that.
No,
and then suddenly the calling comes and
there you go.
Bingo, there you are.
Yes, sir.
That is so interesting. Now, when you look back, when you finished high school, did you go to like a seminary or something like that?
Yes, sir. But my first, I went to the University of Florida and majored in religion, and that was actually a better experience than seminary.
Huh.
Because it in no way was it Bible study. It really challenged my faith.
Huh.
And so many of the students, and when I was a young adult pastor, I ran into students that were religion majors, and to be a religion major at a secular school, it can either make you or break you.
Huh.
And it really strengthened my faith and got a chance to learn about other religions, not just the religion, Christianity that I was a part of, but got a chance to learn in depth about other religions.
Right, because I grew up Catholic, you know, and so growing up Catholic, I always thought it was funny because some of my friends went to Catholic school, but I didn't. And I always said, you got whacked, didn't you? Because Catholic schools were known to be so strict, and the nuns were like, they did not take prisoners. So I went to secular school.
Okay.
So I was like, you know, hey, no scars, I'm okay.
Right.
But why do you think that a secular school challenges someone of faith when you study like religion in a let's say you go to Harvard to study religion or something like that?
I think it's like lifting weights. And so with weights, it's the adversity that makes you stronger.
Right.
You know, it's the push against your muscles that makes you stronger. And so at the University of Florida, it really challenged my faith. And so if we were studying New Testament, it wasn't something that that just automatically assumed that the New Testament was correct, and it was something of faith. It challenged sometimes the existence of Christ, and so I think that those type of challenges, if you can come out of it alive, it makes you it makes you stronger.
Come out of it alive. Yeah. I love the word you use. So now you leave Florida, and then you go into a seminary.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And you study and become a pastor.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember your first gig as a pastor? The first church, they said, you're responsible for these people now.
Right, a little small church in Trenton, Florida.
Trenton, Florida.
Yes, sir. In a little community, about 2 churches in that community. The people went to my church on the first and third Sunday, and that was an A.M.E. church, and then there was the Baptist church where they went on the second and fourth, and so all the Baptist people were in my church on the second and fourth, and all of my people were over there on the first and third. Oh. And so, but it was a great experience. Great experience. I got a chance to have first opportunity to eat coon, and so it was out in the country, and so it had some great experience, but some wonderful people that really taught me how to pastor.
Wow, yeah. Wow. Now, your denomination is A.M.E., which means sir. African Methodist Episcopal.
Yes, sir.
What's the history of that?
All right, so we started out with the Methodist Episcopal Church, and this is during slavery. Our founder, Richard Allen, he worked and he bought his freedom. Okay. And he was he attended the Methodist Episcopal Church. But they were in church one day, and they were praying, and while they were praying, and they normally had to sit up in the balcony, and there was something they just wanted to go down to the altar and pray like everyone else. And so while he and a guy named Absalom Jones, they were down to the altar praying, and some of the officers at the church came to pull them up to send them to the place to where they were supposed to be, and he basically said the words, "If you allow me to pray, finish my prayer, I will return to bother you no more." And once they finished that prayer, they walked out. That was 1787. They walked out, and they were on a journey, fighting, trying to start their own church, and they had to go through a lot of legal matters with the Methodist Episcopal Church, really not wanting them to start their own church. Right. But by 1816, they won a federal lawsuit and were able to start their own church. And so it's been going ever since.
Wow, yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Because I've met you. The way I got to meet you was some events at the church. I remember Haley, the dentist.
Dr. Halen.
And they had like a memorial for him and all the things he did. And then I remember when the massacre in Charleston, and all those poor people got killed in Bible class. And this thing that happened in Texas too long ago remind me once again of people who go to worship and they don't come out. It's so tragic, so sad. And so I saw you there. Now, how old is this church that's here in Lincolnville?
This St Paul A.M.E. church was founded in 1873. And so Lincolnville was initially known as Little Africa, right. A community founded by freed slaves. And in 1873, the Pastor James and the congregation started St. Paul, and it was down on the location that we now know as the Eddie Vickers Park. That was the original location, and they were down on that location till about 1888, from 1873 to 1888, and then they moved over to School Street on a location. But then finally, in 1904, the property where we now sit at 85, back then it wasn't Martin Luther King Avenue, but the property where we now sit.
Central Avenue, I think it was.
Yeah, back then I don't even know if it had a Central. That was a long time ago. But in 1904, they bought that property and the parsonage that sits behind it for $1,000 from the Van Dykes. Wow. And we've been at that location since 1904.
Wow, wow. Now this church, when you think of that church, you know that Martin Luther King took some rallies out of there, and he talked there. But are there other pinnacle moments of the church before Martin Luther King?
Well, the church is a pillar in our community. I think the community expects leadership, and particularly the black community looks for leadership to come from St. Paul and to come from that pulpit. And so it's well known for the work that Dr. King did during the Civil Rights Movement. But before Dr. King and since Dr. King, St. Paul has always played a very critical role in the community and being a voice for people who sometimes don't have a voice, and being willing to kind of have the courage to speak up for people that might not necessarily feel comfortable enough to speak by themselves. And so it's done a wonder. And the community of Lincolnville has a rich heritage, and St. Paul is deeply embedded in the history of Lincolnville.
Now you have outreach programs out of that church.
Yes, sir.
What are some of the things you do?
Well, we have about 38 ministries, and so
wow, 38?
Yeah, so we feed the hungry over here on Bridge Street. Actually, the St. Francis House actually started out in St. Paul, and so once it really began to kick up, it was relocated over to the place to where it is now on Washington Street.
Right.
But we have mentoring programs that we run, a lot of social action, social justice, ministries for women, men, children. We have a lot of ministries, 38 ministries.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for your church right now?
We just have to just remain relevant. I think so many churches get comfortable with just kind of doing the same thing and never really stopping to critique what they do and have the willingness to modify to make sure that they're serving the current community. Right. It does not make me, would not do well for our ability to grow if I'm still stuck in the 80s and serving a community from the 80s. I have to look at the challenges that are in the community that we currently live in and make sure that we're relevant, that we're serving the community. There's a song about serving the present age. And so we have to make sure that we understand, have a real, and so even we have a ministry called Community Engagement. And so it lists all the different activities and meetings, monthly meetings that go in the community. And we make sure that we have representatives from St. Paul that attend the different meetings so that we can stay aware of the pulse of the community.
What are the problems and what are the solutions that are needed for that?
Right.
Now, are you a married man?
Yes, sir.
And your wife, is she a pastor?
No. She's.
I love the way you said, no. One in the house is enough.
Only him, the one.
Yeah. So what does she do?
She's an attorney and a law professor at the University of Florida Law School.
Oh, wow. In Gainesville, then?
Yes, sir.
Oh, so she keeps you on the legal side of the law. Okay.
For somebody like me, I need an
scripture to
attorney.
overcome it.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that argument.
Yeah, I need an attorney. Yeah.
You need an attorney.
Yeah.
So now children?
Yeah, I have 3 grown children. My oldest son, Ron, 1985. Ron is 32. Ron is 32, and he has a wife, Alana, and they are 5 months pregnant. Kiera is 1990. Kiera is 27.
Okay.
And her and Cody, I have 2 granddaughters. I have Bella, that's 2 years old, and Nyla, that's 9 months old. And then my youngest son, Jamal, 95. 22.
Isn't that fathers right there? Mothers know it right away, right?
Jamal is 22 years old, and he's a student, college student right now in Gainesville, and actually the head musician at our church.
Okay. Now, what do you do? Being a pastor or a priest, I have a lot of friends, Jesuits. I like Jesuits. They're rebellious. But I have, it's a 24/7 job. You can get a call at any time that some of the members of the church need your help desperately. So what do you do to relax?
I relax by hanging out with my 2 grandbabies on Fridays. And so when Bella was born 2 years ago, I serve on a lot of committees in the community. And but when Bella was born 2 years ago, and all the communities can tell you, some very significant communities committees that do great work. But every board that I was a part of that met on Fridays, I resigned from those boards 2 years ago when Bella was born so that I could commit my Fridays to hanging out with Bella, and then a little bit later Nyla was born. So every Friday I have Bella and Nyla Fridays.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. So you go to a movie, buy an ice cream.
Yeah, we just hang out.
Just
we just
spoil
have a good
the
time.
heck out of them. Yeah. Why is it that grandparents are so nice to the kids, and the son, you weren't that nice with me,
But you know what? If I'd have known being a grandparent was this fun, I would have skipped having the children. I would just went straight to the grandchildren.
Well, we'll keep that. That's a very good scientific thought, But, I thank you for all the outreach you do in the community. And I know sometimes things are hard, but man, as for me, I love having you here in St. Augustine, and I love what that church does. And let's give them a hand. Wish them a Merry Christmas. And I guess now Christmas time you get busy also. There's a lot of services and things that are special for this time.
Yeah, but our ministry, a real focus on family is a key piece of our ministry. And so during some of the holidays where churches really amp it up, actually in our ministry, I shut the church down and tell our people to commit to hanging out with family during that period. And so even during this period, like next week, the church is down Monday through Friday, but the membership had to make an agreement that they would spend that time with family.
That's great. Great idea. Thank you so much. And we'll be back after these messages with the St. Augustine Youth Chorus, but we're going to talk to Kerry Fradley, who's the conductor or director of that group, for a couple of minutes, and then we'll hear them sing. And we thank you again, Reverend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's yours.
All right.
My name's Dana. I own Sweet City Cupcakes, and we're located at 233 West King Street. We specialize in custom cakes and cupcakes. We use fresh and local ingredients and bake fresh daily. Each of our cupcakes is decorated with a unique look to complement the flavor. We have signature cupcakes such as the Marilyn, the Elvis, the I Love Lucy. We have a unique vintage look. Stop in and say hello. Have a cup of coffee and a delicious cupcake. Even better yet, take a box home to share with the family.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. And we're here with Kerry Fradley. We had her in our first season, and oh, that was a wonderful interview. I think Kathy Vandenberg was also on that show. And we talked choir. Oh, the show is all about choirs and choruses and all that. So now you were so wonderful to bring this youth that sings so heavenly. And so tell us a little bit about this youth chorus. How old has this group been? And yeah.
I actually founded the group in 2005.
Okay.
So it's 12 years.
Wow.
And we started with just a few kids, and it has grown to
When you say a few kids, what are we talking about?
Probably the first season we had maybe 12
Oh, wow. That
singing,
is...
and it has continued to grow. It's a community-wide program.
Okay.
But it sort of fills a need when the schools don't have many schools have choral programs, but some do not.
So how many do you have in this chorus now?
35.
35.
Yeah.
Wow, and I think we had about 30 in this year.
Right, today.
Because I counted them at some point. I was at 20-something, and they kept coming through the door. And so yes. So is there a specific aim of a certain music that you do with them?
Yeah. I like to do what we call standard repertoire for choirs, written specifically for choir kinds of singing. But we include also some Broadway, some jazz, some folk music.
Yes, I've seen you guys perform, and I'm surprised of the eclectic mix that comes out, and everything's so different, which I think is a little challenging because the next number you're doing is not at all like the one before. So I think that's the challenge. What do you hope to do with this group in the future?
Well, just to continue to grow them musically. We work to develop their reading skills and their ability to harmonize, just fine singing, and then hopefully they will carry it through their lives and enjoy singing on into adulthood.
Now, do they have the menudo thing that they get too old? You're out of the group. Your voice is too deep.
Well, you may have noticed that we have a few of those deep voices in the group because they've been with me for so long and they didn't want to leave.
Oh.
So we made provisions for.
We'll create a certain
sound
sound for you to harmonize with the rest.
Right.
That is so generous of you, really.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think once they're involved for so many years, it feels like something they love to do. So why say, no, you're on your own. Go get an agent. Go get a publicist. You know. And so it's great that you can accommodate them. You know. Now, are there any challenges working with children this young? Because how young is the youngest?
They start at 8 years old.
Wow, that's young.
And it is, you know, the big challenge, or one of the big challenges, is the fact that it is a wide age range.
Right.
So you have to enlist the young ones and cater to their abilities, and then to challenge the ones who are older and who have been with us for a long time. And so we actually subdivide the choir into 3 groups.
Okay.
And we have a young men's group, and we have what we call the cool notes. They gave themselves that name, and those are the ones that are first year or sometimes second year students, and they work more for the reading, and they're much more active because they don't want to sit for an hour and a half and work on the music.
Now, when will your group perform next? Because I saw them last weekend.
Right.
At the doing the From Prophecy to Peace in that program with the St. Augustine Community Chorus.
Yes.
And they were fabulous because they sang on their own, and then they sang as part of the larger arrangement. And I thought it was wow. I mean, you guys just blow the roof out of that basilica. It's so beautiful.
Well, thank you. The community chorus sponsors us and have all along. And so and we do interact with them.
Right.
And it's a win-win because the children get to sing with that marvelous chorus and with an orchestra. And
so when will they have another function for the public?
They in March they will have a performance of their own, and in May, during the Romanza Festival, they perform.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Stay tuned, definitely.
We begin rehearsals in January.
Okay.
January 9th.
All right. So any child that's watching this program that would like to come into the group, what would he have to do?
Go to our website, which is StAugustineYouthChorus.org.
That's easy enough.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, you shouldn't be in the chorus. Okay. All right.
And then we do have auditions. They're not, make or break auditions.
Right.
Mostly we want to see that the child is really interested in singing.
And where you could put him.
And how the voice
Like in the middle of the audition, there's not a hook that comes and pulls them away.
That's right.
Or a trap door that opens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Now that's good. So it's mostly to find where they're at and how serious are they, because you have to rehearse, you have to...
Right.
Yeah, it's not something you just show up on the day of the performance. There's a lot of preparation. So would you guys sing another song for us?
Yes, we'd love to.
What would that be?
Oh, Holy Night.
Oh, that's a classic. When we come back, we're going to have the St. Augustine Youth Chorus sing us another beautiful Christmas song to just get us going. It's 4 days away, ladies and gentlemen, before Christmas Eve. Okay, we'll be right back. Thank you, thank you.
My name is Manny. I'm the owner of La Gerencia Cafe. We're located at 4 Avila Street, the oldest street in the oldest city in the nation. Our menu features breakfast all day and lunch. We have a variety of omelets, a variety of sandwiches, Cuban sandwich, medianoches, Elena Ruth, pork sandwiches. We also have a feature item, it's called the Guajito, which is was featured in a PBS special. Some of our house specialties is ropa vieja, typical Cuban picadillo, and roasted pork with black beans and rice and plantain. Cuban coffee, Cuban espresso, cafe con leches, cortaditos. We have a selection of domestic and imported beers and a selection of wine. We also make our own mimosas and sangrias. So next time you're in St. Augustine, pass by the oldest street and come into La Gerencia and have good food, good friends, and a good time. And by the way, se habla español.
Our ingredients are mostly natural. It's palm oil, coconut oil, olive oil. We put cocoa butter, shea butter, and real silk in our soaps. Also, it's something that's pleasing to the eye and you enjoy using it. Come visit us at Antoinette's Bathhouse.
Great. For me in heaven. This is beautiful. I thank them so much. I thank Kerry Fradley. I thank Nicole Pece from the Betty Griffin Center, Reverend Ron Rawls from the St. Paul's African Methodist Episcopal. You made a wonderful show for Christmas. All our love to everybody out there. I want this Christmas peace. I don't want to see rockets or bombs or nothing. I want everyone to be with their families, have a great meal, and thank God for the wonderful life we have. Amen. See you again.